Bro, what's going on, man? How was your draft weekend, man?
Oh man, it was good. Me, cover, Florida State, FSU Wire, and also, the Cowboys. So I was a busy man writing and watching. So I'm actually glad it's over. But it was a fun filled weekend. It's one of my
Bro,
favorite
I'm
times of the year.
I'm not gonna lie, bro. The NFL is amazing. I I get to about I think I get to about round four every year, either round four or about the middle of round three. And I'm like, why am I watching this? Because it's like 400 players go get drafted. Only like 50 of them gonna really be good, like that we might hear over the next 3 years, maybe 20. Like it don't really be that many. Like, but we're watching every player come off the board, and people are like, "Yeah, that dude there, that's the one right there. Yeah, this guy, that's
Right.
the one." Like, do people ever go back and go read their old like draft takes?
Yeah, I actually have gone back and done it a few times to see like how wrong I was about guys. It's like, wow, man, we really drinking some Kool-Aid sometimes.
I remember
But
the Jaguars drafted Rashad Green. I thought Rashad Green was gonna play like 10 years in the NFL. Like I was
I
like,
did too.
I
I
like
did
this
too.
dude gonna play 10 years. He was so good at Florida State. But
Yeah. I
the NFL though is weird because whatever your draft evaluation is, it's like you can't really run from it for the most part. Like that's normally who you become is who they evaluate you at. And a lot of people get upset with the evaluators that be doing these evaluations, but nobody ever come back and be like, "Damn, that evaluation was right." You know what I'm saying? Like nobody ever come
right.
back with it when that evaluation actually hits. Nobody ever comes back and be like, "Damn, that dude was right about
Yeah,
that."
because like they're like so focused on the fact that they don't like a certain guy that most people like,
Right.
and then once he goes to the league and he doesn't, perform like he's supposed to, you go look at the notes the guy had. Oh yeah, well he didn't do that, didn't do that, didn't do this. So he actually was kind of right.
Yeah, yeah. Because that was the
Yeah,
big thing with Rashad Green when he came out. They were saying how he wasn't like a really good, like tough catch guy, catching traffic. He kind of struggled with catching in traffic and stuff like that. And I was like, man, he always made big plays. But then when you
right.
really think about his career when it wasn't always the highlights, you're like, you know what? Yeah, he would kind of drop the ball sometimes every now and then when he's
Yeah,
going across the middle. He would, you know what I'm saying? Then you get to the pros, it gets amplified. So it's like
right.
that's the most fascinating thing about the draft. You had any more takeaways from the draft? I mean, other than the Shador
Uh,
thing, that was
yeah. I mean, unfortunately, the Shador thing is going to be the headline for the draft. I think the fascinating thing to me was, bro, honestly, was how many good players were still available on day three.
right.
Like a lot of running backs drop, a lot of receivers drop, a lot of defensive tackles drop. So there was some really good players left on day three. So I was just kind of surprised that so many guys that had like day two grades were still there on day three.
Yeah, I think normally I think like because a draft can be considered weak per se, that means the evaluations kind of go all over the place because
Hmm.
now people kind of they're not really evaluating by um what I guess what you would determine like what the media market would say. They're more so evaluating by what guy can actually come in and help me play, like help us
Hmm.
instead of
Right.
Kenny's got to be a all pro. I don't think they really saw a lot of all pros in the draft this year. So it was a
Yeah.
fascinating draft, man. I thought the Shador thing was fucking crazy. It was crazy to me.
Yeah.
I was just like, this is. I mean, I've
Yeah.
seen guys drop in the draft, but I've never seen a guy drop that far in the
Yeah.
draft. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
And
That was crazy.
yeah. Yeah. It was definitely crazy, man. It's crazy because when you talk to a lot of evaluators, a lot of them only need guys with first round grades.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's like
yeah.
not even half. That wouldn't even take up half of the whole round. So there wasn't a lot of like real blue chip guys that stuck out this year. Besides, the handful of obvious guys like the Shadoras and the Gentees and the Travis Hunters and Adu Carters and all that. But there wasn't a whole lot of big blue chip guys that they thought had first round grades.
Yeah, let's talk about while we're on the drive. Let's talk about AZ going to the Jets. and Former going to the Patriots. I thought that was pretty cool. What you thought about that?
I actually, you know what, man? I actually thought Thomas was going to go in the second round. I was actually kind of surprised that he was there in the third. I just
You
the reason
should
why
listen to
the
you should have
say
listened
again,
to the we did a pod on it. Me and gosh, what's my guy name? I forgot my guy name. Anyway, we did a pod
Clay.
on we talk about what yeah, Clay. Me and Clay was on here
Uh,
talking about it. And we thought he was going in the 50s too. I think we did say 50s. I knew he
hmm
was gonna fall further though, because the way they were talking, like I said, he didn't have a specific fit because he can only do one thing. And when you can only do one thing, it gets hard to kind of pin you where you going at. Because in the NFL, the more you can
Yeah.
do, the more valuable you are. So yeah,
Mhm.
I'm sorry though. Go ahead, man. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Oh no, you good. No, I thought he was going to be I thought he was going to be a second round guy, but I mean I knew he was going to be a day two draftee. I didn't think he was going to fall further than the third. Um, but I mean that's pretty much right about where we should have went second, third round. And I think he has the potential to turn to a really good pro, but he's going to have to, like you said, expand his game. You can't just be a one trick pony in the league. Because more than
Yeah,
likely you're more than likely not going to stay with one team.
right,
That's just the way the NFL goes now, which means you're going to have different coordinators, you're going to have different schemes. You're going to get to a
mm,
point where you might be an older guy and they bring in new guys to run a different thing that could phase you
right.
out. So it's really important in the league to like diversify your game because you can get into the league doing one thing, but once you get there, like you can't be a one trick pony really at no position, honestly. So I think that's the one thing that's going to be key for him when he gets there is add more twos to his two bag.
Yeah, we had him pegged. I know somebody asked me, I don't know if it was in the questions, they were like teams that are really fit. But I actually think he went to the perfect fit for him, to be honest with you, because if Aaron Glenn run the defense that he ran at Detroit, which
Hmm
that could be up in the air because he could give the defense to the guy he hired, Steve Wilkes. And I don't really know a lot about Wilkes. I mean, I know he's at the 49ers. They ran what the 49ers want to run. Like they ran what Kyle Shanahan wanted to run. So I don't know what Wilkes himself likes to run, and I don't know how that's gonna work, but I know Aaron Glenn ran like a strictly man-to-man defense with Detroit. Like it was like we manning up on the outside and we getting after the quarterback. Like we're not gonna do a lot of the zone stuff. So
Right.
if that's true, I do think he's in a perfect place. Him, and then he won't be the number one, so he'll be outside of Sauce.
Exactly.
I think he
hmm
actually start. So I do think he'll start. To be honest with you, and something that works out for AZ is that he's young. I think he's like 20, so AZ's still really
Yeah.
really young. So I really do feel good that he's gonna have an opportunity to have a pretty good career. He's gonna have to play a little bit more physical, but Aaron Glenn's gonna pretty much demand that he be physical. So I feel like he's
He
with the
definitely
right place.
fell to the right coach, though. I will say
Yeah,
that he definitely fell to the right coach. So the deficiency that he does have a guy to coach him up on that stuff. That's got a great reputation. So, like you say, it is a great fit for him. I
yeah,
definitely
it's a
agree with
great
that.
fit for AZ. And Josh Foreman went to the Patriots, man. I think the Patriots had like
One of
probably the
the
second,
best drafts.
yeah, probably one of the second
Yeah.
best draft or the best draft, in my opinion. I thought they did a good job to me. I mean, we'll see. I mean, if they can't block for for Drake May, then I take all
Yeah.
that back. But Josh
Yeah.
Foreman going to the Patriots, I thought was like pretty cool.
Yeah. And to me, with Josh, when it comes to the league, I think he's either gonna hit really big or he's gonna face himself out. I don't think there's no in between with Josh. Like I
Mm,
don't, and that's just my personal opinion. I really like the
right,
player. I've always liked the player, but there'd be times where he disappeared sometimes too. To me, so
right.
yeah, that'll be the thing when he gets to the league. It's just the consistency part. Because when you watch him play, when he's on, I mean, the guy is an effective D tackle. He can take on double teams. He
Right,
can get off the line of scrimmage pretty quick. But he has a really good base to work with. Coming to the league, it's just that
right.
the consistency and the relentless motor sometimes I think is what he lacks. That's just my personal opinion about Farmer. Like
You
the
know,
player, but he got
yeah.
to yeah.
His pad level, him and Jackson, they pad level was just terrible last year. Like the whole year
Hmm.
it was just bad. They're gonna have to he gonna have to fix that. If he can fix it, and it's funny because they were saying that they do think he's strong, but to me,
It wasn't
I
consistent
well,
though.
yeah, it wasn't consistent, and it's kind of hard for me because I always compare guys to like Tim Jernigan and
Mm,
Eddie
oh,
Gold.
I mean, yeah, I
Like,
mean, we
yeah,
were we,
Tim,
we
and
were
then when
we,
I
we were
look,
we were so spoiled with them.
right, they could do so much. Like Tim could just do a lot of stuff, and Tim wasn't like a great pro. I mean, he really wasn't. He wasn't a great
No, he
pro. I
wasn't.
mean,
Mm-mm.
but he was so dominant in college, but he wasn't a great pro. Eddie was kind of he reminded me a little bit of like Darnell Jackson when it's like he can show up, then
Hmm.
it just go missing. But
Yeah,
when Eddie wanted to make a play, Eddie would just make a play. Where you just
make
like
a
you
play,
got to
right?
have a play, Eddie'll make a play.
Yeah,
So it's like I compare guys to those guys, and those guys are so talented. And Former is just I don't know, man. He went to a place where they're not going to ask him to play every down, but he's going to be
true.
fighting to get on the field.
Hmm.
That's the Patriots. That's playing for variables a little different, man. It's going to be a
They,
fight. And somebody was saying this too about this draft class. This is like the real NIL era for draftable guys. Like everybody in this class has collected like NIL money, been in school for a while.
yeah,
Some of them been to 2 and 3 schools, and there's like a lot of that in this particular draft. And it was like it's um it's like they want to see how these guys uh integrate into the NFL because a
because
lot of
they
these
bounce
guys are
around
used
so
to kind of
much.
cutting bait and going somewhere
Hmm.
else or doing something else. So they were
Yeah,
saying there might be a chance you see a lot of like high turnover
I tell
with
you,
this
yeah,
draft class where you see like
hmm,
fifth round, fourth round picks just getting cut completely. So that's
yeah.
something to watch, for people that care about stuff like that. Was you surprised that those are the only 2 players drafted?
Uh, I don't. I'm not too surprised. I mean, when you look at the other, I think it's like six more guys that got picked up as undrafted free agents. You got DJ, you got if I say I think Ryan Fitzgerald, the kicker, I thought he
Yeah,
probably would have got drafted. Especially coming off the season he had last year. I think he was like what 13 for 13 last year or something like that. And
yeah,
maybe him, but when you look at Cam Riley and Cypress and Byers and Kevin Knowles, like I could see those guys either being undrafted or being like late day threes.
right.
So the fact that they went undrafted doesn't surprise me too much. Probably the only one that I thought probably would have been maybe a fifth or sixth round would be Fitzgerald, just because he came off such a year. He got all kind of honors and so I thought maybe him, but the other guys that got picked up as undrafted agents, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I think I thought somebody would take a flyer on Cypress because of his athletic profile. Um I knew knows when he get drafted. I can't think anybody else. Yeah, that yeah, I think two is a problem. And it's something else too because the Big 12 and the SEC because of the money, the stability at coaching, their ability to develop players
It's very
now.
key, the coaching part.
So now all the draft picks, like especially like the top 60 picks or top 100 picks, are like coming from the Big 10 and the SEC now, man.
Yeah,
Uh, Florida State definitely has to get out of this conference, man, because you can see the talent gap is just widening further and further and further and further. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah. Like now I think like the ACC. They have a few, top heavy guys, but throughout the conference, it's not as deep as like the SEC and the Big 12.
Yeah,
Like they got guys, all positions,
yeah,
starters, backups, like
yeah.
they're loaded everywhere. Like even like their backups are getting drafted on day threes and stuff like that. So it's I'm waiting for the day to get out of the ACC. I've been wanting to get out for years now.
Right.
So hopefully that happens sooner or later because yeah, the ACC and Florida State, that's they got to cut bait at some point.
Yeah, they do got to get out of this. They definitely got to get out of this definitely got to get out, man. It's but you know, it is what it is. At the end of the day,